Well, we've spoken a lot on this show about the terrible left-wing bias that permeates almost the entire journalism class in Australia, with a few exceptions. In fact, it's the whole reason that this show has been successful, and it's our core mission to balance things out, as our name suggests, by presenting smart, thoughtful news commentary from a centre-right perspective, the other side. A person with my political views could only ever get a job at Sky News or The Australian, so just as well I'm not in the job market. Well, something's been in the news this week that might explain why everything has gotten so bad since I was a boy kicking around the newsrooms at 3AW, the ABC and Channel 10 back in the day. The Australian newspaper reports that Australian journalism's biggest awards ceremony, the Walkleys, has been plunged into crisis after its organising body rejected an approach by some of the industry's biggest names simply to shrine the independence of the event. You see, the awards are run, effectively, by the MEAA. That's the big media union. Now, when I was a kid, we had a professional body for journalists that acted like a union too. It was called the AJA, the Australian Journalists Association. And it was left-wing enough even back then, and many right-leaning journos didn't like it at all for that reason. But it generally acted as a professional body, and it stood up for journalists on issues of free speech and their rights as journalists professionally. But then in the 1990s, it merged with Actors Equity and a bunch of other media unions, including, would you believe, sideshow workers, to form the MEAA. And since then, it's been full-on left-wing. There's been no professional association for journos who aren't left-wing in Australia, basically. The Australian reports that the MEAA is now struggling for relevance amid falling membership and concerns of a left-leaning agenda. So there's been a push to make the Walkley Awards, the nation's biggest awards for journalists, and the Walkley Foundation more independent. But it hasn't worked. The Australian reports that one journalist has told it the MEAA has become a far-left activist rabble which is tainting the Walkley Awards themselves. So surely any effort by the Walkley Foundation to dilute the union's strength is a good thing. Another journalist lamented that the union had been captured by an ideological few who don't understand journalism and whose political agenda should have no place in the industry. There is no doubt that Australia needs a professional association for journalists. Journalism is not the same as acting or sideshow working, no matter how much we might like to joke about the state of journalism these days. We need the Australian Journalists Association back. And we have some inside info that it might be coming back. So thank God for that. We'll keep you posted on that as it moves forward. But we need an association that will stand up for free speech and freedom of expression across all media, old and new. The MEAA was tragically silent when Dan Andrews in Victoria was hassling independent journalists during COVID. There were the arrests of a Herald Sun journalist at a rally, the arrest at his own home of filmmaker and online commentator Topher Field.
I'm Josh from the Danny Police Station, mate. We're here today to arrest you for incitement. You take it in the police station. I gave you a phone call before because I didn't want to do it in front of your kids, that's all. Out of respect for you and that kind of thing. So we need to come with us, come to the police station, and then we get to come back home eventually.
Okay.
All right?
Yep, let me have a quick word with the wife.
Okay.
Police here to take me down to the station. So I'm going to head down with them, have a chat, and see what they've got to say. Apparently telling me that I have been inciting. So
What? That's ridiculous.
Yep.
Yep. Then there was the harassment of independent journalist Real Rukshan Fernando at his home in Melbourne during COVID. And then the 3 arrests of Avi Yemeni from Rebel News, all of which got zero attention from the union because all of them were conservative or libertarian and anti the Andrews Labor government of the time. All of these also got little attention from other journalists themselves for the same reason. In fact, the only people who covered it properly was Sky News and Andrew Bolt.
And why is the media so uninterested in what seems to me another example of the brutal authoritarianism of the Victorian Labor government and its minions? Let me show you these 3 arrests. 2 years ago, Yemeni was interviewing people at a so-called Invasion Day protest on Australia Day. Some of the protests were a bit feral, yet police arrested not them, but Yemeni.
You're bashing your missus? I need you to just keep walking.
I'm good.
I know you are.
If they're getting violent,
We're concerned for your safety.
I'm being arrested for my own safety.
Then, in September that year, police arrested Yemeni again, this time quite physically, quite nastily, and at a protest against the harsh virus lockdowns.
I am media. I'm media. I've got my permit in my pocket. My permit is in my pocket.
And then, on Australia Day last year, Yemeni was again arrested when he interviewed protesters at another Invasion Day rally. Police marched right up to him as he peacefully interviewed people, and without explaining why, what right they had, threw him into a police van.
Andrew Bolt on Sky News there, perhaps the only outlet that covered the story properly. For all of that, there was not a peep from the MEAA. The other side actually phoned them at the time, and we were told that the union wasn't taking any action because Mr. Yemeni wasn't a paid-up member of the MEAA. Okay, but what about the principle of the thing? What about how a precedent like that could end up affecting your actual members? And this is why we need a professional journalists association, not a left-wing union representing journalists in this country. In the end, Avi had to crowdfund his own legal support, and the Victorian police, after he won, had to formally apologise to him.
The apology reads, on each occasion, Mr. Yemeni was wrongly arrested and detained by members of Victoria Police while reporting for Rebel News. Victoria Police sincerely apologises for the hurt and embarrassment suffered by Mr. Yemeni. And I've got to think, wait a minute, wrongly arresting the same reporter not once, not twice, but 3 times? What is going on? And why is the media so uninterested in what seems to me another example of the brutal authoritarianism of the Victorian Labor government?
That was Andrew Bolt reporting there back in 2022. But it seems the MEAA doesn't even want to back journalists and content creators on the left side of politics either. Perhaps Australia's most widely watched political commentating YouTuber is comedian Jordan Shanks, aka Friendly Geordies. He's got global numbers on YouTube and teeth that a right-wing old commentator like me could only dream of in some kind of future paradise. 1.37 million subscribers last time I checked. Shanks' Sydney home was firebombed a couple of years ago. Now, I cannot stand Geordie's politics. I don't even particularly like his presenting style or his comedy that much, and I'm sure he hates mine. But he does do good work putting the spotlight on corrupt scumbags. And yeah, somebody tried to kill him.
A fiery message that's hard to miss.
Police are tonight hunting an arsonist who targeted the home of controversial Friendly Geordies YouTube blogger Jordan Shanks. It's the second time the property has been firebombed in a week.
Obviously, we've done some extremely dangerous reporting over the last year, I suppose, of a bunch of extremely powerful people and corporations. There is many people that would want to do that.
No one has the record that he has for doing some hard-hitting journalism, and this is his payday. Someone's trying to kill him.
In what I now know was a premeditated attack, that at best was intended to terrify me and at worst was intended to kill me. But the firebombers, they forgot to take one thing into account. I'm very disorganised. The night that happened, I was supposed to be sleeping here. I don't even have smoke alarms. So there's a very good chance that if I was, I could have ended up like the content you're watching right now. Fire. But I wasn't here because that week I was performing my live show in Melbourne and I forgot my keys while I was down there. So there, criminals outwitted. It reminds me of that quote, if we don't know what we're doing, then the enemy certainly can't anticipate our future actions. So I was sleeping somewhere else that night with the firebombers' mums. But I will admit, the firebombers did succeed in terrifying me, and I've spent the last couple of months doing 2 things apart from the firebombers' mums. That's hiding and ruminating. This video is a culmination of that rumination. This is an explanation of who could have possibly have done this to such a small, relatively unknown Australian YouTuber.
Exactly. You'd think the lead organisation in this country supporting journalists and comedians and sideshow workers would be all over this one, since Jordan Shanks fits all three categories. And at 36 years of age, he is the poster child of the hipster, woke, inner city, lefty, perpetual uni student set. But no, not even the superstar of their own little elites could get the MEAA to actually do anything. I didn't remember hearing a thing from the MEAA about this horrific attack on free journalism, so, just in case my old man Generation X memory was letting me down, we wrote to them this week and we checked. Just wondering what the MEAA has said or done publicly about the attacks on YouTuber Jordan Shanks, aka Friendly Geordies, related to the mobster firebombing on his Sydney home some years ago. Please note, we're interested in what the MEAA is doing in principle, in extreme cases that set dangerous precedents for its members, regardless of whether or not any particular individual persecuted are themselves a member of your union. The response? Nothing, nada, zilch. So yeah, we desperately need a proper journalists association in Australia again, one that represents all journalists, old media and new media, and is prepared to step up and fight no matter what side of politics the actual journalist may be on. And we need it fast. You may have noticed if you've been overseas on holiday recently that you can log into your streaming services like Netflix or Prime in other countries, but the shows they offer are different and sometimes even better. You're paying good money for those subscription services, why can't you watch? Well, with a virtual private network or VPN, you can log in from home here in Australia with an internet address from anywhere in the world, and big corporations and big government can't see where you are. Now, to be clear, criminals can still be actively found with police warrants, of course, but the average honest citizen will have their location protected from prying eyes of corporate marketers and government bureaucrats. If you sign up now with private internet access, we think they are the best VPN service out there. That's private internet access. As a viewer of The Other Side, you can get 83% off the price of your subscription and get online for less than $3 a month. Check it out right now. Go to piavpn.com/otherside. That's piavpn.com/otherside. It's a great service and a rock bottom price, and you're helping keep The Other Side going and growing. That was a segment from a recent episode of our fortnightly news commentary show, The Other Side, with me, Damien Curry. If you liked it, support us. Subscribe to our channel on YouTube right now so you don't miss a thing. It's totally free. Just click that subscribe button and the little bell. And check out our Other Side Unplugged show too, and join our mission to actually do something and change Aussie media for the better at othersidetv.com.au. That's othersidetv.com.au. Check it out now.